Well, in the vein of things that have been requested on this channel to be reacted to, we'll be looking at The Darkest Hour. My understanding is this is Gary Oldman, I guess, plays this part, which is wild because, yeah, but I say that, and he's played all kind of parts throughout his career. So, but any movie that's taken and showing anything to do with Winston Churchill in any kind of historical fashion, definitely down to watch, especially as it relates to World War II. Winston Churchill being one of the largest figures as far as, I say large, one of the most iconic figures in history the last, 100 years or so, 120 years probably. It's hard not to be interested in anything that involves him. So that being said, let's take a look at this, shall we? Starting off with black and white. What is this? Showing all the troops. Is that the German troops, or is that just some big old guns? Hitler. I think he took himself out. We didn't have to do it. Hitler has invaded Czechoslovakia, Poland, Denmark, and Norway. 3 million German troops are now poised on the Belgian border, ready to conquer the rest of Europe. And Britain Parliament has lost faith in its leader, Neville Chamberlain. Well, yeah, he had Europe by the short and curlies. Search for a replacement has already begun.
Mr. Speaker! The leader of the opposition, Clement Attlee. It seems that I have not been clear enough. To the right honourable gentleman, to his years of inactivity and...
Boy, everybody is in an uproar for sure.
For leaving this nation ruinously unprepared to face the present Nazi peril.
But, I mean, to be fair, nobody really was able to predict exactly what Germany and what Adolf Hitler's plans were whatsoever. So, like, the whole world dropped the ball. But yeah, and Chamberlain, if not mistaken, also had other issues leading up or prior to this, and this was just kind of that that needle final straw that broke the needles, the final straw that broke the camel's back, essentially. So they all do look highly upset.
We are at war, Mr. Speaker. At war. He has proved himself incapable of leading us in wartime.
Well, doesn't look like things are going to be going his way. They definitely didn't.
National interest under the leadership of Mr. Chamberlain, who has lost the confidence of this House.
Yeah, vote of no confidence is not, that's definitely not what you want as a politician, especially if you're a prime minister.
Where's Winston?
Ensuring his fingerprints are not on the murder weapon.
Refuse to join any government headed by me, we must now select my successors. I will step down tomorrow, but
it must be Halifax.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your confidence in me. However, my time has not yet come.
It's crazy that they're still talking of, they see how everything is going, and they're still talking of diplomatic resolutions. Knowing good well any diplomatic resolutions that they might try to come up with, either, number one, aren't going to be followed by Hitler at this point, or it's just going to fall on deaf ears, because Hitler was very much power hungry.
Gentlemen, there is only one candidate, only one man the opposition will accept.
Totally absurd.
And if he stretches out his hand and says, "Gimme."
Oh my goodness.
So it's almost impossible to catch everything. Be prepared to type fast. Short burst.
Imagine getting a job for someone at this point in time, especially this high up in government, and one that, possibly going to be higher after you get the job.
To the French ambassador. With German forces crossing into Holland. Come on, telegram. French forces will now move to check Belgium. Stop. Monsieur the ambassador. Oh. They've already invaded Belgium. I will convey your plea to the Prime Minister at once.
Well, that cigar, homie. Get rid of the cigar, you might not cough. Of course, and again, I say that knowing good and well that's what he was known for, is the cigars.
General Ismay, In light of today's events, the time is...
Like an old woman in a in a robe in a robe with that.
Is May. In the light of today's events, the time is right.
Right. Last sentence.
The time...
Many men is the Gerardian nincompoop. One many, four. Single space. Single space. Were you not briefed, young ladies? Tell heavens to send me someone who can get it right the first time. Go on.
Very cantankerous old fuck. I mean, granted, she was told.
Did he shout at you? No. He can be an awful brute. May I tell you something I feel you really ought to know? I have noticed a recent deterioration in your manner.
Is this about the new girl?
If the king does ask you to become Prime Minister...
We don't get more than I already am.
Oh, my darling, you are on the brink.
So he knows he's not very well liked, but she's also concerned about his temperament, which...
I want others to love and respect you, as I do.
It's interesting because she's definitely, that girl's definitely nervous, and the way he talks, the guy's right, it talks kind of in he's not mumbling, but it's in a mumbling type manner. It's very gruff, and the way everything comes out, like you said, kind of staccato, very, short bursts and stuff like that. It's for her to take in it. She's just starting and everything like that. So I'm guessing that's his wife, and she sees it, and it seems like it's a foregone conclusion to everyone but him. At least he's acting like to everyone but him. Probably, I have a feeling he probably had his hands in getting himself in the position to be called to be Prime Minister. Just have So the fact that she's like, look, your temperament's not what it should be. Probably something that's needful. Of course, and again, at this point in time, everything that's going on, what are you going to do? Yep, you are. Whether you want it to or not, apparently.
By land,
There's a telegram.
and by landings from Paris.
It's from the palace.
Are moving to the head and several buildings destroyed.
Thank you. Miss?
Leighton.
You've wanted this your entire adult life.
No, since the nursery. What do the public want me?
Let them see your true qualities, your courage,
My poor judgment.
your lack of vanity.
Yeah.
It's crazy the stuff that pops up during wartime and how things just kind of, the whole status and feeling of a nation can change. And I'm sure at this point in time with the Nazi threat, people had to be slightly uncertain and terrified of what might come.
Why not Halifax? I favour Halifax.
I wanted Halifax.
Halifax didn't want Halifax.
Record is a litany of catastrophe. Gallipoli, 25,000 dead, the abdication, and now this Norway adventure, what's that, 1,800 men.
He was right about Hitler.
Well, even a stopped clock is right, twice a day.
Forget the military stuff that a lot of people, his go as Prime Minister is one of his, that's his biggest achievement, because there was a lot of stuff beforehand. Wasn't he Prime Minister before at one point? Okay, no, I was wrong. He was after. So after World War I, he was elected again in the 1950s. But yeah, he did serve previous to this in different capacities. And so yeah, the military thing, he actually pretty much kicked out of the service because of the Gallipoli incident, basically, or the failure.
First Lord of the Admiralty, Mr. Winston Churchill.
Early. Keen.
Your Majesty.
Mr. Churchill, I believe you know why I've asked you here today. It is my duty to invite you to take up the position of Prime Minister of... And that was quite easy.
Yes, it was.
They seem to not like each other a little bit.
Once a week, I'm afraid. How is...
Yeah, they don't seem to like each other at all.
I shall endeavour to be available on Mondays.
4 o'clock?
I nap at 4. Lunch. Mondays.
Yeah, they have actual disdain for each other. Like that was very awkward and tense at the same time. That's oh my goodness.
Prime Minister.
Anthony.
How was the king?
Anxious.
You only have to meet him once a week.
Oh, but that's like saying you only have to have your tooth pulled once a week.
Oh yeah, the disdain is real.
Chamberlain, of course. The Reverend Holy Fox. Without them, the party will have rid of me. Oh, and that sheep in sheep's clothing, Atlee.
You have an enormous task ahead of you.
I only hope it's not too late.
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
With gas mask on. Wow.
No one can cross the Mersey in 24 hours.
I bet Parliament was rather busy during this time. All kind of decisions had to be made, and all kind of things probably had to be agreed upon and ratified. Like it's a time like no other in human history.
Chief, if he waves it at the end of Churchill's speech, we show approval. If not, keep quiet.
Mr. Speaker, on Friday evening last, that we are in the preliminary stage of one of the greatest battles in history. Sir, I take up my task with buoyancy and hope, but blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
The impact of this had to be absolutely massive to get everybody's support behind them.
You ask, what is our policy? It is to wage war with all our might and with all the strength that God. For without victory, there can be no survival.
Our policy is to wage war at all costs, no survival.
You're not gonna have peace though. That he knew that. He knew that.
Well, I shall never see my country at peace again. I have cancer. Winston must be removed from office.
If we can get him to declare that he refuses to even consider peace negotiations, that would force a vote of no confidence. Party couldn't countenance that. You're the chairman, for heaven's sake. With Winston out of the way, who can say? But the important thing...
This whole bit of politicking and stabbing in the back and stuff like that, like, it would have... If Chamberlain would have had his way, Britain would be speaking German. England, the whole of the UK itself. And the whole of the UK itself, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Probably the independent, nation of Ireland and stuff like. Everybody be speaking German if, or at least would have to be learning German and would have had to learn German in school if Chamberlain's stuff would have been, because Chamberlain did not. It's like he couldn't grasp the fact that none of the negotiations would have worked whatsoever. Conceding or anything wouldn't have worked.
Clear on record his refusal to engage in peace talks. They must have it in writing.
Stuff like we're seeing here is one of the reasons why I hate the way politics works. It's just all kind of backstabbing, and a lot of times it's only for self-interest. You got a nation that you see what's going on in the world. Germany's just attacked France, but let's negotiate.
Morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mom.
Sleeping quarters for when you miss the last train.
Like bright-eyed and wide-eyed at everything they're seeing.
Indiscretion in conversation or any other form within or without these rooms regarding what happens here is a statutory offence. That's the War Cabinet Room. Never.
Belgium and Holland may fall at any hour.
The French?
The entire French Ninth Army, some 200,000 men, have capitulated. All our land forces, roughly 300,000 men, are now in full retreat.
Navy sits idle, neutralized, useless. Their speed is devastating.
Panzer tanks moving.
So he's getting the lay of the land and everything, and he's not liking what he's hearing.
Their tanks can stop for fuel at a petrol station.
7 million refugees are on the move. Collectively, we are looking at the collapse of Western Europe in the next few days.
France must be saved.
They take them over the sky, over the land of France. That's quite dangerous. I mean, granted, he needs to see it probably in person, but Or he probably wanted to see it in person. I don't think there's really a need for him to see it in person, but...
Premier. Bien que notre, we have survived crises before, and I am. Tell me how you plan to counterattack.
There is no plan.
Contre-attaquer!
It's crazy. It's... Imagine telling someone who's just had his homeland invaded and just run through the way that the Germans did. And 300,000 just kind of, they deserted. Somehow you're supposed to counterattack. I mean, the one thing I'll say up to this point is he's realized exactly what they're facing. I think seeing everything, hearing everything, or at least he knew it was coming, or at least he knew the threat is going to be faced. Now, seeing everything, him taking and saying this to the French premier or whatever makes him sound like he's grasping, trying to get them to grasp at straws, when it doesn't seem like they really have anything to take and fight back with at this point.
I don't believe that this Panzer breakthrough is a real invasion. I refuse to see in the spectacular raid of the German tank.
Il délire. Il délire complètement.
He's English. He's delusional. He's English. Well.
And of his own voice.
I love to listen to him. But we must never take his advice. We have a drunkard at the wheel.
Wakes with a scotch.
We may have to replace him, Bertie.
Replace him? Spoken like a true Prime Minister.
Broadcast is tonight, so don't spare me, Anthony. Be frank.
I don't think so. You're suggesting we're somehow winning.
No, but it will inspire you.
I caution against it.
Cicero. Cicero!
We cannot pay our bills.
My copy of Cicero. Did you show it?
Did you hear what I said? I dare not write another cheque.
Well, I'll economize.
How much have you had to drink this morning?
I see you now. As I first saw you.
Are we terribly old?
Yes, I'm afraid you are.
Oh, you...
You gotta love the intimate look right here at their relationship.
My speech for tonight's broadcast.
It's lost.
If you will sit here, on the stroke of 9, the red light will come on and we shall go live to the nation.
One moment.
The last minute changes.
Are we ready?
One moment.
Well, he's cutting it close.
And 4, 3, 2, 1.
They're all holding their collective breath
I
there as he
speak to
sits
you
there.
for the first time as Prime Minister for the life of our country, of our empire, of our allies. A tremendous battle is raging in France and Flanders. I have invincible confidence in the French army. The British and French peoples have advanced. From the foulest and most soul-destroying
This
tyranny.
has to be, I guess, a question after this little speech here, regardless of how inaccurate it is. How did you remove him as Prime Minister at this point, regardless of whether or not you have any kind of faith in him? Because it's going to inspire the people that listens. Whether it's a false hope or not, it's a different thing. But the situations and circumstances in war change all the time. But to inspire hope, and hopefully inspire hope not only to the people, but also the soldiers on the ground. Whether that was is a good thing or a bad thing, But
now, one bond unites us all to wage war and never to surrender ourselves to servitude and shame. Conquer we must, as conquer we shall.
Well done, sir.
he's not dumb. He knows the forces that are standing against him, and he still had the balls to go, yeah, whatever. I'm saying what I think needs to be said.
There is no advance. It's a shambles. We're in full retreat.
But would you be serving them tonight by denying them their sleep and terrifying their children? There's time enough for the truth.
But the way you're doing your V for Victory sign, up your bum.
Well,
But if you turn it around, that's fine.
I heard you on the wireless. The public need to be led, not misled.
I believe I have just received a royal rap on the knuckles.
As of 2000 hours last night, the Germans have encircled 60 British, Belgian.
How many of our men are trapped?
All of them. Our country's entire professional soldiery.
General, are you telling me that we shall have lost the entire British army by the next few days?
They are pushing us into the sea.
Well, the Germans must not reach the sea.
As it stands, I cannot see we have much hope of getting any of our forces out in time.
What's our next step? Anyone? Come on, speak!
We still have a garrison at Calais, 25 miles to the west.
Yes. Then we have them go east, engage with the German columns, move the focus away from Dunkirk, whilst we execute a maritime evacuation of our forces.
4,000 young men.
To save 300,000. Greatest importance to this island, that his garrison draw the enemy's tanks, and to fight on, if needs be, until the destruction of his command.
4,000 for 300,000. It's not. I mean, would you rather have no army? No armed forces whatsoever?
I have reservations.
Who is free of reservations?
About unnecessary sacrifice. Italy has offered to mediate peace talks between ourselves and Germany.
With Hitler holding the whip hand.
Because
the only thing to do is to show that maniac, that Brigadier Nicholson, the Germans must not reach the sea, not before we get our boy.
Well, surely before you take full responsibility for the deaths of 4,000 men, you'd wish to consider what is your mind on the principle of peace talks, sir? Do we take it, for example, that you preclude yourself from even considering taking part in such negotiations?
Uh-oh.
I should like to speak to Viscount Halifax and Mr. Chamberlain. Issue the order to the Calais garrison.
Something tells me this ain't gonna go well for them. Looks like the guy that played Stannis Baratheon, the other guy, the Halifax fellow. Looks like the guy that played Stannis Baratheon on Game of Thrones. I don't know why that just crossed my mind, but it did. What's he trying to do? Just quietly intimidate them?
Winston, we're facing certain defeat on land. The annihilation of our army.
We are a seagoing nation. The channel is ours. It's our moat, our battlement. They have first to reach this island, Edward.
Furthermore, once France falls, Germany can concentrate on aircraft production. They will then have the French fleet as well.
Might we not allow Edward simply to meet the Italian ambassador and find out their price?
Sir? Mr. President.
Winston!
Franklin! I'm telephoning about your Navy ships.
Well, I did ask around, but just not possible, I'm afraid. Just can't swing it. I tried.
Well, can I,
I'm so sorry, Winston.
I need not impress upon you without your support in some fashion.
I know. Good night to you, Winston. It must be late there.
Such a cop-out with the treaty and everything, or the papers, the bill that was signed about not taking and doing anything to help militarily or anything else like that. But Franklin was playing his role until the perfect moment to take and jump in by, overlooking the fact Japanese were planning attack. Hey, what do I know? Missing out on that wartime money.
Give me Admiral Ramsay on one of these.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Bertie, I hope I didn't wake you.
Not at all. I was just reading the Bible.
We need to evacuate our boys. I want you to order an assembly of boats, civilian boats, as many as you can get your hands on. Anyone with a pleasure craft bigger than 30 foot that can get to France. Right. We must at least try to bring some of our boys home.
Well, I'll have the BBC issue the order.
We need a name for this operation.
Good morning, Prime Minister.
Imagine having to fight through that throng of supporters or of reporters every morning on your way to do anything or go anywhere.
I have been asked if plans should be drawn to evacuate myself and my family to Canada.
Well, my opinion would be that you must do what you feel is right for yourself. Your survival is paramount. Prime Ministers, well, we seem to come and go at an astonishing rate. My party resents the way Chamberlain was pushed aside. I am unwanted. I've never been trusted since the Gallipoli campaign.
Perhaps it's because you scare people. You scare me. One never knows what's going to come out of your mouth next.
My emotions are unbridled. I have asked the Minister for War to join us. We are in a dangerous situation, but I'm assured by the French Premier there are some... What news from Calais?
The garrison attacked, but was forced back and is now surrounded on all sides. Casualties are at 60%.
Prime Minister, the question of peace talks.
Oh, we must hold on now. Peace offer telegraphs our weakness.
Agreed.
And even if we were beaten, we should be... Let us therefore avoid being dragged down the slippery slope. Right on, Halifax. The approach you propose it's not only... It's futile.
The deadly danger here is this romantic fantasy of fighting to the end. There's nothing heroic in going down fighting if it can be avoided.
Europe is still...
Europe is lost. And before our forces are wiped out completely, now is the time to negotiate. Hitler will not insist on outrageous terms. He will know his own weakness. He will be reasonable.
When will the lesson be learned? How many more dictators must be wooed? You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Further exploration of a peace agreement, then you will have my resignation.
Oh, don't be absurd!
Was Gallipoli not enough for you?
How dare you! Our troops were opening a second front. Outflanking the Turks was a serious military idea.
Choice is yours, Winston. You have 24 hours to enter into peace talks, or I shall resign.
I'd be like, well, hand over your resignation now. No need to take 24 hours for this. Just hand it here.
To Brigadier Nicholson, 30 Infantry Brigade. Every hour you continue to exist is of the greatest help to our forces at Dunkirk.
And he knows this has to be a hard thing.
Admiration.
So sentencing 4,000 men to save 300,000 still isn't a very easy task at all.
Your evacuation, however, will not take place. I repeat, will not take place.
May I be excused?
You may not. What is this about?
No one tells us anything. We hear scraps and it's worse than knowing nothing.
What would you like to know?
How many men will survive?
Come with me.
Oh, he's going to take her in. He don't care.
The German army controls every French port except Dunkirk here and Calais here to the west. Both points, our troops are encircled. Now, we are still trying to clear Dunkirk. Our only hope in Dunkirk is thick cloud cover. I am told we will need a miracle to get even 10% of our men out. Courage, Miss Layton. Courage.
How long have they got if we don't rescue them?
1, maybe 2 days.
News from Calais, the 30th Infantry, sir. They've retreated to the town's citadel as a last...
Brigadier Nicholson, there's a telegram, sir.
That had to be hard to take and hear of because nobody else knows this information, but now you can't share it. That had to be absolutely horrible to take and sit with that knowledge, especially outside of Churchill and everybody else who's supposed to know, just as secretary, just as typist. That had to be horrific to know and absolutely terrifying at the same time.
Your evacuation, however, will not take place.
Already 4,000 men, 60% casualties at last count. That's absolutely insane.
Go to bed, Pig. You must sleep.
Leave me, Clemmy.
It had to be a horrible burden to bear, knowing you took and condemned 4,000 men to death. Granted, I understand the reason why, to take and save the force, your main force of 300,000 soldiers, but still.
Give me Ramsey. Bertie, what's been the response? How many votes so far? The request for civilian votes, Bertie, was not a request. It was an order!
From Lord Gort in France, sir.
Belgium has fallen.
We have received reports that the most probable method of attack which German air might employ against this country means a considerable force of the enemy could be landed at many points on the coast simultaneously. We must prepare for the imminent invasion of our island. We recommend that the country should be warned and roused to the immediate danger, and
let all preparations be made.
Let the record state I have received word from the Italian embassy.
Perhaps, then, the time for such an offer from us is when Germany has made an unsuccessful attempt.
You are refusing to grasp the realities of terms must be struck.
And it seems we have no choice but to at least consider them. If Hitler's peace terms are overlordship of Central Europe, and if he will leave us our independence. But if I were told what the German terms were, then I'd be prepared to consider them.
He knows how foolhardy this is, though. You got 300,000 men on the shores of Dunkirk, and you can't get them out.
Come to wonder, in recent days, the right words won't come.
They will come, sir.
Your bow.
My brother?
Where is he now?
He was falling back on Dunkirk, but he never made it. Shall I read back what we have?
Yes, please.
Seems like they've gotten a measure of each other. She does seem to take and have great respect for him.
Days, whether it was my duty to consider entering into negotiations.
Imagine being privy to all of this. Sometimes the situations you're put in, being privy to something like this, you have to know you're experiencing a moment in time that so much hinges on what happens next. Like, this wasn't just a hinging on what happens to England, but the rest of the free world itself. I think Winston knew that. I don't think the rest of everybody that was in Parliament understood that the way he did.
I've just been standing, imagining never being here anymore.
You must decide, sir. You could rule in exile.
Truly, is that to be my fate? You know something? I'm aware in this moment, feeling angry.
Darling. Winston, darling. There's someone to see you.
My darling, you have the full weight of the world on your shoulders. Shall I let him in?
Who?
The king.
Which king?
I hope you can forgive the late hour, but your wife thought tonight would be a good time. I received a visit. It appears that the prospect of a peace deal has increased dramatically.
I should like to know your mind.
It would be helpful to know yours first.
I should like to know it myself. Nations which go down fighting rise again, and those that surrender tamely are finished.
Are you not afraid?
I am most terribly.
You have my support.
Your Majesty.
You have my support. While some in this country dreaded your appointment, none dreaded it like Adolf Hitler. We shall work together. You shall have my support at any hour. Beat the buggers.
Yo, that is something that had to be an uplifting kind of like probably what he needed. And the fact that you could see him like, what? Whenever he said, you have my support, that like, what? What are you doing? Huh? Because it's very clear the disdain for each other that they have.
To power, but without supporting my own party, I must sue for peace.
Go to the people. Let them instruct you.
In total, 860 vessels.
The biggest civilian fleet ever assembled.
Initiate dynamo, and may God watch over them all.
We've lost the Prime Minister.
How do I get to Westminster?
Westminster, the District Line East, one stop.
Memorandum is titled Suggested Approaches to Italy.
Is this where he, like, does he put the kibosh on all peace talks right here? Because I have a feeling just, like, after the talk with the king is like, yeah, no, fuck that.
But he desires the solution.
So, this is the underground. Thank you. Does anyone have a match? What is your name?
Oliver Wilson, sir.
And what do you do, Mr. Wilson?
Bricklayer, sir.
How old?
5 months, sir. He looks like you.
Well, what is your name?
Mrs. Jessie Sutton.
Ah, Mrs. Sutton, it's a pleasure.
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters.
Agnes Dillon.
Agnes?
It's Margaret Jerome.
Oh, it's Jerome. Ah, well, my mother. So how are you all bearing up? Good. Let me ask you something that's been weighing on my mind.
He went to the, like, he took the advice. He went to the people, like, holy crap.
The British people, what is your mood? Is it conference?
Some people say it's a lost cause.
Lost causes are the only ones worth fighting for. The worst came to pass, and the enemy were to appear on those...
Fight the fascists.
Fight them with anything we can lay our hands on.
Broom handles if we must, street by street.
If we enter into a peace deal with him right now, what would you say to that?
Never.
Smart man taking and going on the thing like this.
What stop is this?
Westminster, sir.
Westminster. It's my stop.
This is a genius move. Like, this was just probably all the buoyancy after taking and speaking with the king that he needed to take and make his final decision on things. If I had to venture a guess.
The War Cabinet. Sir, they're waiting.
I'm due to address the Outer Cabinet. I'm about to speak to my Outer Cabinet in my rooms, and I extend the invitation. This afternoon, I shall address the House. At this very moment, the War Cabinet is drafting papers that lay out a willingness. I spoke with Oliver Wilson, Mrs. Jessie Sutton, Marcus Peters, and Morris Baker.
He's naming out all the... That's... Bro.
And they argued strongly, if we tried to make peace now, we should get better terms than if we fought it out. Jessie Sutton, speaking for many, believes we would...
I love how he's using these people that he met on the underground to take and basically make the case that he's been trying to make. Of course, he talked to all of them, and they are all opposed to it. So they, in theory, they hold his views on what he thinks is gonna, should be.
Then become a slave state. Where should we be at the end of all that? Some might benefit. I mean, the powerful might be able to parlay good terms. Never! Never! So I come to you.
And now he's got their support. Brilliant move on his part. Brilliant move. All the way around on this.
You might even rise up and tear me down when I, for one moment, have contemplated. Were they wrong? Were they wrong? It appears to be your will also that if we falter at all in the leading of the nation, we should all be hurled out of office. It falls to me in these coming days and months to express their sentiment. There shall be no negotiated peace.
He got their support. He took... It doesn't matter if they resign now. It does not matter. He's got the support to where a vote of no confidence wouldn't happen, so...
We must both now resign, force a vote of no confidence.
Well, let us go to the Commons first, join our colleagues.
Well, Halifax is going to be left on his own, pants down on this. And I think Halifax realized it right there when Chamberlain's like, yeah, let's wait till afterwards, homie. Something tells me this is going to have a different play out than what a lot of folks were hoping.
I would observe that there has never been a period in all these long centuries of which we... But I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing It's neglected. We shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary, for years alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the will of Parliament and the nation.
Only one side's clapping. What about the rest of them?
And the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength, even though large tracts of Europe and many...
Bro, his way with words is absolutely stunning.
Fall into the grip of the Gestapo. We shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing ground.
Now he's getting all of their support. Now the people behind him, which must be slow to uptake.
We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender! And if this island or large part of it were subjugated, we on the sea, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle. New world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue.
It don't matter if you try to give a no confidence vote now, there ain't no throwing him out.
Changed your mind?
Those who never change their minds never change anything.
Almost all of the 300,000 troops of Dunkirk were carried home by Winston's civilian fleet. Neville Chamberlain died 6 months later. Viscount Halifax was soon removed by Winston from the War Cabinet and sent to Washington. On May 8th, 5 years later, Britain and his allies would declare victory. Later that year, Winston was voted out of office in a general election. How do you take and win a war and then get voted out during election time? Like, what? And they must have got tired of hearing him. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic movie. I enjoyed The Bridge Over the River Kwai. I enjoyed Zulu Dawn. I enjoyed Zulu, which I think out of those movies right there, this and Zulu are the two best that I've reacted to thus far. I like Bridge Over River Kwai, but I just, my opinion, the depictions of the Japanese just wasn't, just the brutality they had. And I understand there's exceptions, but the exception is not the rule. A lot of people didn't understand that. Nor the fact that it's based off of one man, but it's very much a fictional story based off of historical events. Not a true telling. Very good story. Very good movie. Zulu Dawn, really enjoyed that. But Zulu itself, just Michael Caine's performance, the rest of the cast performance in that was hands down just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Zulu Dawn, like, it's clear that the enemy was the arrogance of the British commander there in and of itself led to the defeat that happened. This right here, showing the struggles and also the brilliance, even whenever it seemed everybody thought he was mad. The struggles, the doubt, the very much how, maybe how close they were to negotiating peace with Germany. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of, at that time, at that place and time, this is looking back at historical, 2020, historical hindsight being 2020 and everything like that. Had they taken and actually entered peace negotiations with Germany, all of Europe had fallen, basically. I don't think anybody would have blamed them. It would have been looked at as trying to take and save your nation and stuff like that. But the courage to be like, no, we're not doing this. And you could tell in the movie, like the the interplay into politics between not only Churchill but also Chamberlain and Halifax and the members of his own party, and how much there was disdain for him from them. The fact that he didn't have the support of the king and him, very apparent they did not like each other. King very much had disdain for him, but that willingness to 300,000 troops, and they were willing to take and just basically throw them away because others might be able to get 10% out, might be able to get the 2, and that call to take and essentially sacrifice 4,000 men for the safety of 300,000. You could see the impact that had once he got the news that they'd fallen. There was no report of anything as far as no report on survivors or anything of that nature. You could tell the effect it had on just this whole movie right here, and the way everything is portrayed, very much. And the fact that, number one, it's, Gary Oldman is one of the best actors. Like him being a method actor and throwing himself in a role, like this was just absolutely fantastic. And Winston Churchill being one of those historical figures that 20th century after World War II and for years in the history books and stuff had this mystique and just an iconic figure of history because of the instrumental part he played in World War II and the securing of an Allied victory. It's just this movie right here and showing the early struggles in the lead up to before they get, before England, Battle of Britain with air raids by the Germans. All the struggle and everything else in the lead up that they're showing in this. Fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal. This right here is this was hands down just awesome. Absolutely awesome. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves.